Is this thing on? Yay! Hello, 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 everyone. All right, we have some reactions coming in. Cool. So excited to have you here, Brian. I want to see.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Cool. Hi, Jamila. How are you? Thanks for hopping on and joining us for our first Savvy Entrepreneur Spotlight. So exciting.
Jamila who?
So Jamila Jennings. She's from down south somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know a couple of Jamilas.
Yeah, local.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hi, Miss Mary. How are you? Thanks for tuning in. So Miss Mary, she actually just released a book. She's local to the DMV. She just released a book all about making yourself priority one. So we're excited about that.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Jamila.
Awesome. And so we'll give everyone a little bit of, a couple seconds to tune in. And while we do that, so you all ready for the holiday, Brian? Do you celebrate?
Yes. I guess so. We just got a tree. We have a Christmas tree.
Yay. We
Right.
haven't gotten that far yet. I don't know. So this is my story, right? So I grew up in California. I've always been about the live Christmas tree, right? And then a couple years ago, my husband and I picked up a tree from Whole Foods. So we're all trying to be all fancy and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we come downstairs the next morning and there's like these little critters all over the floor. I know. So I've been converted. I don't know if I'm a live Christmas tree girl anymore. It just took 1 year of a lot of critters. And I mean, we of course got rid of them, but it was, it was a lot. It was a lot.
That's not good.
Awesome. Let's see. And then once I started doing research, I realized that it happens pretty often, which is kind of strange because I'd never heard about that before.
Oh yeah, I haven't experienced that. We have both a live tree and an artificial one. I prefer the artificial tree, but I was outvoted again this year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the live trees are just so amazing, though. The smell, and then they say they really do well with dust and all that stuff in the air. So what we'll do is we're gonna go ahead and dive in. Miss Mary says hi, Brian.
Oh, hi.
Hi. Cool. So we have some cool people tuned in right now. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Today, this is our very first Savvy Entrepreneur Spotlight. And we like to start off by saying thank you to Brian for being our guinea pig.
I didn't know I was the first. I would have prepared something totally different.
No, this is awesome. I mean, I think you're the perfect person. You have great personality, lots of experience, and, we can really bounce off of the love for digital marketing as well. And then you can teach us a thing or two about your love of music, during this session. So I guess beautiful. What's that one back there right behind you?
So this one right here is a violin or a fiddle, depending on the style of music you play. So in my case, it would be a fiddle. And then this instrument up here is actually called it looks like called the zither, actually. It's from the turn of the century.
Cool.
It's kind of like an auto harp. It's got like 50 strings on it, and you strum it with a pick.
So how did you start loving these different things?
I grew up kind of in a musical family. My mother played piano and also accordion. And then I don't know how I got into bluegrass, but early on, like in my college, like really in high school, I really fell in love with the banjo watching Hee Haw and Roy Clark. And so my mother got me a banjo.
You're aging yourself.
I know, right? I was just a little baby. And so I fell in love with the banjo, and my mother got me one, and I played when I was a senior in high school. I played like a song in the high school talent show, and I won like first prize, and that like motivated me to like take professional lessons. And then I joined a bluegrass band. This is back when I lived in Milwaukee. Wisconsin.
Oh,
And it just continued to grow from there. So then I joined a band and I started playing festivals, and we were nominated for Best Bluegrass Band of the Year a couple of years in a row in Wisconsin. And
nice.
then it's kind of, so music has been a very strong part of my life. And not, even though
Yeah.
I've switched, I never did that as a career. It was always a side kind of thing. But I work with a lot of, musicians and music venues and clubs and that kind of thing now. So it kind of has
Nice.
relevance to what I'm doing today.
Awesome.
And
Do any of your
actually,
clients let you pull out some instruments, or they kind of like they know just handle that digital marketing stuff? Leave
no, I
the
do.
instruments there?
I bring my mandolin a lot of places I go. I'm actually working with a group called Root Studio. Can you see that?
Yes, Root
Root
Studio.
Studio in Columbia, Maryland. It's kind of like an artist workspace, like for painters and photographers, podcasters. They have this really unique kind of blend of all kinds of digital and performance art and different things. And I'm helping them start an open mic. Their first live music open mic. Once a month, we're going to be doing like live music concerts at Root Studio in Columbia, Maryland.
Cool. Anyone local, make sure you check out Root Studio in Columbia, Maryland.
Yep. So our
Awesome. And then
kickoff concert is going to be January 14th, I believe. No, January 12th, Friday, January
oh,
12th.
nice. It's coming up. Feel free to post that in the group as well.
Okay. I'll do that.
We have a lot of people that are pretty local, so they might, need a break from being hustling and bustling entrepreneurs and hang out to bluegrass.
If they play an instrument, it's going to be all kinds. It's going to be spoken word. So it's going to be spoken word as well as like music and stuff.
Nice, nice. And we have a lot of people who like exactly. Jamila says she loves open mic. She says, I'm coming. So
Cool.
that'll be cool. Awesome. So let's go ahead and dive into some entrepreneurial stuff. So let's go ahead and start, Brian. Tell us a little bit about yourself, we know about your music background, but a little bit about how you got into being an entrepreneur.
Well, let's see. I really kicked off my business in 2010. Right after I've been my whole entire career prior to 2010 was working for large nonprofit organizations. And so I was the chief operating officer of Lutheran Family Services in Virginia for quite a few years. And prior to, like, really my first job out of college was working for a nonprofit. I'm actually trained as an alcohol and drug counselor. And so I've worked in prisons and jails, working with adult male and female offenders coming out of prison in jails. And so I've kind of been in that nonprofit substance abuse arena, like for most of my life. And so when I was in Virginia during the 2010, there was that big financial bubble, downturn that happened. So I laid some people off. I got laid off in 2010. My wife was in medical school at the time. And so we didn't know where she was going to end up. She's also in the Army. And so we didn't know when she graduated, she could be going anywhere really in the world. And so instead of getting another corporate nonprofit kind of administrative job, I've always done web design on the side as a little side habit, little side hustle, little side kind of thing.
Right.
And I always loved doing that. So we prayed about it and we decided why don't I just do that as a full-time career? And then it's mobile. So wherever she goes, I can just follow her along, follow the doctor, follow the money, and
Right.
I can do the web design stuff. And so so I got together some tech buddies in Philadelphia. We've lived in Philadelphia quite a few years, and we created a business plan for myself, created my website, and it's been a roller coaster ride since then.
Right. Awesome. Thank you. So let's just dive right in. Tell us a little bit about this roller coaster ride and why you stay on the coaster.
Well, it's really like an uphill coaster. It's been constant growth since I started, really.
Nice.
So when I got laid, I think my first year I made $30,000 my first year, which was like a major, like compared to what I was previously making. We were in a poorhouse at that point.
Right.
Right. And the second year I doubled. I doubled that in the second year. And then we moved to this area, Washington, D.C. area, the DMV as they call it. Everybody else considers that the Department of Motor Vehicles.
Right.
Here it's D.C., Washington, Virginia, and Maryland. that confused the heck out of me for like many months. Why is everybody talking about the Department of
Right. Don't hate that place.
But when we moved here, I joined a business networking group called BNI. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't.
BNI.com. It was the best thing that ever happened in my career. And I heard about it on a podcast because I listened to a lot of podcasts, live broadcasts like the Savvy Entrepreneur. And it came up and I've never heard about it. This is like 3.5 years ago, or 4 years ago, actually. I found, and so there are these chapters all over the world of business owners, and they get together weekly. It's like really intense. Like we every single week with these people all year long, except for the holidays. And they only accept one person per profession. So I called up. There's actually like a half a dozen of them just in Bethesda area. There's like half a dozen in DC. And so I looked on the internet. I was like, which one is the closest to my house? And I called them up to see if they had a web designer or somebody in my profession. And the person who was in that profession had just left. And so I went to one meeting and I was sold. It was like, I went to that meeting. It was like so like energetic, and you see like business passing during the room. Like they have these referral slips. They're like passing business and talking about the benefits of this thing. And so I joined immediately. And then ever since I joined that group, it's been like, I've either doubled from 50 to 100% growth every year since I joined that group. Because it's just like, it's like networking on steroids is what I call it. It's like 57% of my income comes from that group. So it's, I go to a lot of networking stuff, like I'm meetup groups and a lot of online stuff. There's a great online group called I Am a Brand. Have you heard of that?
No.
It's a DC based. Jamila Corbett is the CEO of that group. It's an online kind of creative thing. Jamila Corbett. So there's some great networking things, but that one, weekly network group of BNI is really has propelled my growth. And so I went from a solo, web designer, freelancer, shopping, looking on Craigslist for any job I could get when I first started, to today I have 12 people working for me. I'm making quadruple what I was making as a chief operating officer, because the harder I work, the more money I make. I never had that experience working in corporate. You work really hard and then they give you a 5% raise the next year. I work really hard and I get a 50% raise next year. You know what I mean?
Nice.
So
like those odds, those numbers.
So that's and so one of the things that's kind of propelled my growth too is really just starting to hone in on niche, a niche, the best kind of services. Hey, Mary Pereira, is that how I pronounce her name?
Yeah.
The kind of niches that I've focused on. A lot of people say, the riches are in the niches. You have to, focus on a very focused target audience. I don't have like one single target audience. I work with musicians. I work with small businesses, finance firms, law firms. However, the services have kind of narrowed it down. So instead of doing everything, SEO has become, search engine optimization has become the single biggest part of my business.
Nice.
And we do that as a white label service. That's where I get most of my business. So we'll work with other web designers or marketing people or brand specialists, and we'll do SEO through their business kind of model.
Nice.
So that's been the fastest growing part of my work. And around here, it's very interesting. It's very competitive, but it's very lucrative too if you know how to do it well and price it right and get people on page one. So our team is really good at getting businesses from invisible to page one in a pretty quick amount of time.
Nice.
So that's kind of how then we do also do web design and social media management too.
Nice. Hey, when you talk about niching down, because that's huge these days, right? Everyone says niche down. Who's your avatar? Who's your target market?
Right.
And you said that you didn't really go that way. If you want to tell us a little bit about your thoughts on that?
Yes. So, when you're starting up, especially the first couple of years of your business, right. I hear this advice. You need to really focus on that one target audience, who's the ideal customer, and but you're trying to put food on the table. You're going to take anything you can get. Really, I don't care who you are. You need to, put gas in the tank. And so that's what I was doing when I started. It was like I wrote an article for Entrepreneur. What is it called? Think Entrepreneurship on the top 5 referral sources of a new entrepreneur. So when I first started, I was getting my primary sources of referrals or new business was from Craigslist. So trolling Craigslist ads. Family and friends, Thumbtack, those paid lead sources like Thumbtack and Elance. those work for me really well, you know, and so you can't be real selective when you're on those platforms. If you're trying to get business, you get what you can take, but you know, I think God leaves you in unique directions. So he, you know, people come into your life who are supposed to come into your life, I think. And so, I think that's what helped. And then part of it also is learning about yourself, you know, understanding what drives, what makes you most passionate, what kind of clients really motivates you, what kind of service are you providing that really is exciting and fun and interesting for you to do. And so I learned early on that plumbers are not my target market. Some bad experiences with plumber. There's plumber SEO. There's like a group called Plumber SEO. That's all they do. So I refer my clients over there. If somebody comes to me who's a plumber, you can go over this guy. They specialize in guys like you. I didn't like having to reteach everything that I taught them the first time because they're, you know, the ones that were not tech savvy and they didn't get it and they would sabotage their efforts because they listened to the next marketing phone call and then do everything that guy told them. And then, you know, it would overwrite everything I was doing. So I was like, I don't like that.
No more plumbers.
So, but I think, you know, having like my focus, you know, has been it's been pretty diverse. Like with SEO, like I do like law firms, finance firms, small businesses, music artists, restaurants, you know, it's pretty diverse and I like that kind of diverse. So I wouldn't really call that, I guess small business would be kind of like the niche. I do work with some medium-sized businesses, but it is mostly small business. But small business, that's like, could be anything. That's like, it's not really a niche, you know, small business is like anything. Right. And I kind of like that diversity though, because I'm kind of ADD anyway. So you
bored kind of, easy, you know, right?
What's that?
You get bored easy.
Yeah.
If you're only working with plumbers after a while, there's only so much.
And it's interesting because you learn things. If you really pay attention and do a really good job with like a live music venue, like the Bethesda Blues and Jazz Club was one of my biggest clients for years. You learn about what really works well in the entertainment industry. And you think about how can some of those learnings, how can like for example, the Blues and Jazz Club, they were really successful with Facebook advertising and using Facebook event ads. And so transferring that knowledge and learning into a non-event related organization is very interesting applications for those things. Because a lot of times, like I also work with a nice size wealth management firm in Rockville, and thinking about how can we learn from like a blues and jazz club, and you know with events, with paid Facebook events, how can we use that knowledge and translate it into a totally different industry? So it kind of creates some new opportunities of thinking and learning when you're coming at something from a different perspective, I've found.
I love that. Taking, you know, experience from one group and using it for another group. I mean, I think that's crucial, especially like you said, in entrepreneurship or small business owners. We want to, you know, try to be niche specific, but really I agree with you. You know, it's about keeping food on the table and, you know, knowing your customer, but at the same time being flexible enough to move into different markets.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So one of the questions you answered was, tell us about you told us about your biggest failures or your biggest successes. Your biggest success was, you know, getting this business started and growing rapidly, right? Mm-hmm. Tell us about one of your biggest failures as an entrepreneur.
I would say some of the biggest obstacles was like, I like
that.
Was probably initially finding a way to grow the business. Like I said, when I got started, it was a struggle. It was like really trying to find anybody that would hire me for anything. So one of my biggest customers back then, which was the lowest paying as well, was Volvo of Central Virginia. I found them on Craigslist.
Okay.
The owner, and at the time I was doing a lot of volunteer work because I had time. I was like a volunteer webmaster for the Red Cross of Central Virginia, for example. Oh, nice. One of my friends was the volunteer manager there, and he's like, "Hey, so you're not doing anything. Why don't you help us do our website?" And so I'm like, "Sure, that look good on a resume." You know, so I kind of leverage that stuff. You know, get a LinkedIn, you know, review from the CEO and that kind of thing. And so I applied for I think they listed like they needed a social media manager. Somebody, the dealership needs someone to manage their social media back in 2010. And they said the Craigslist ad said $10 an hour. And so And I have a master's degree in business administration. I worked as a
Right.
chief operating officer. And so I'm like submitting an application to a Volvo for $10 an hour. And
Wow.
so I kind of negotiate with, I'm good at negotiation. So I'm like, I'll work for $10 an hour if we can renegotiate this, in a month from now, if you feel like, it's
Nice.
benefiting the business. And so we renegotiated that like 4 times over. And so I was actually starting to make, good money after, quite a few months.
Nice.
And so one of the obstacles is really trying to find a way to grow the business, taking anything. And then, like I said, joining that business networking group when I moved here to DC, that was huge. The other obstacle or challenge I've had is with taxes as a business. So I didn't do a good job initially of, sending money to the government when I started making money. I didn't form an LLC or right away, and so all my income was just as a sole proprietor. So it was all mixed with my, our family income was all together. And
Right.
so I wasn't paying taxes like for first year. I didn't make that much money. I didn't have to pay taxes the first year. But the second year,
Right. They're giving you money the first year.
yeah, they're giving me money. The second year though, I doubled the business, and I should have paid taxes right away, or just started paying some of that money, but I didn't, and so that was the problem. That was the obstacles, and I'm still actually dealing with the implications of that. Now I have a CPA to help me with that.
Awesome. And so the tip from there, I see the takeaway is get a CPA, get an attorney, at least get some type of structure behind your business.
Yep.
Awesome. So, and then you have here some of the obstacles that you put. I love sleep deprivation. Perfect. And then I guess like if there was one thing that you could leave with the savvy entrepreneur community, other entrepreneurs coming up behind you, what would it be?
What would I give the savvy entrepreneur community? Well, advice I would give is to when you're starting a small business, hire a CPA immediately. That doesn't mean you have to pay them a lot of money. You just, engage them. Like I'm starting a business. I need one. If anybody in the audience needs a great CPA, I have one that will not charge you anything until you actually make money, until you're actually using his services.
Nice.
But to have a CPA immediately is like critical. Form an LLC sooner. It's not hard to do. And it protects yourself and your business, and it reduces your taxable income. So I would say that's my advice to the community. The other thing I'd like to share with the savvy entrepreneur community is I'd be willing to do like an SEO audit for like the first 5 people or listeners that reach out to me. I'd charge a business is like $450 for those things, because it's a live web-based recorded kind of review of your website. And so we do a live recording. We go through your website. We actually go into your Google Analytics. We go into the back end of your website. We kind of evaluate all the factors that can lead to business growth based on an SEO perspective. So I'm willing to give that a free value to the first 5 listeners that kind of reach out for that free assessment. No strings attached. There's no sales at the end of the now if you hire us, we can really fix all those issues. No, it's like we'll give you actionable advice that you can do on your own the day after we do it.
Awesome. Right now we have about 7 people on here, so that's 5 right there, guys. But then we also have
you have to have a website, so
yeah. Let's see. I know a few people who have really good websites. Brandon has he has a website and a membership site. He's another one who has a group for entrepreneurs, so I'm sure he'll reach out to you. He's not local, but he has a coffee shop. And do you guys have any questions? Brandon, April, hi April, Mary, Jamila. Do you have any questions for Brian? He's been in business since 2010.
7 years.
7 years, 2010, and he's running a great agency. He's been able to double, triple, his revenue. He's making good money. He has a team of 12 people. So that's huge. Yeah, tell us a little bit about that? Managing, paying, providing for people in your team and their families.
Well, that's one of the other things I consider one of my greatest successes. The things that really motivates me is like employing people, like taking them out of, bringing them into a work culture that is work from home, flexible and entrepreneurial. Like all the people that work for me, they all work from home. Nobody comes to an office. and you're the same as me. I don't know what you do. it's just amazing. Like some like my lead SEO manager, Robin. She I just love working with her. She's also a musician. She's an artist, and this job gives her the ability to tour the country if she needs to. When she wants to go on tour, but she can still have a full-time SEO income while being really flexible with her work. And so I really like being able to help people. It's interesting. My motto of being inspired by coffee, creativity, and music really fits my team, because half the people on my team are like musicians or entertainers and those kind of things that need and like to have a very flexible kind of schedule, and they can make some good money with me learning how to do SEO or social media management or whatever in that process. So I think that's one of the things I feel most inspired for, is like really helping people that I work with have a really good quality of life, and we have fun together.
Nice. Have there been any challenges with managing a team and being responsible for the livelihood of people?
Yes. So the biggest challenge is like finding new people. Like as my business has grown, like I need right now, if there's anybody in the community right now, I need a web design project manager, and I probably need 2 of them, because my business continues to grow. Like I have 3 web design project managers that can't do any more work, and so I need more. I need another
problem to have.
And so I haven't had this problem until like this past year, 2017, actually. All the people that have come to me, I haven't never advertised for a position. It's always been word of mouth. Somebody knows somebody and they recommend them, kind of thing. But I'm at the point now, I just hired my first web project manager through LinkedIn. I never knew him before reaching out to him. He's doing really well, but I like to have somebody who knows somebody. So like somebody through savvy entrepreneurship would be great as a referral source. You have to have web design experience. So that's my biggest challenge is kind of keeping staffed, because everybody's a subcontractor. I don't have employees, but I have full-time subcontractors. Like everybody that works for me, almost 90% of them have other businesses. They have other side, like the ones who work for me more, almost closer to full-time, I'm really their primary source of income, but then they've got other side businesses. They have their own brand, they've got their own things they're doing on the side. And so that's kind of my model, is somebody who's interested in working as a subcontractor. And then, finding, and I have my own training process. You really don't have to know anything coming into the job. Well, except for the web designers. I like to know somebody who knows how to do web design to do that job. But for SEO, I train people 100%. You don't have to know anything really coming in to be an SEO project manager. It helps if you know some HTML, and you'll have a different role. I have 3 levels of SEO people. So if you don't know any HTML or web design, you'll be kind of a project manager level 1. But I train my staff, my entire team, on our approach to SEO. You don't have to go to an outside class to get that information.
Awesome. So Brandon says he loves and hates having staff. I'm sure we can all relate to that in some way. He says we have a great staff now, but have had to fire a few through the years.
Yep.
Have you ever had to let anyone go?
Yeah. So the nice thing about subcontractors, you don't have to fire them. You just don't give them any more work.
Right. Just phase them out little by little by little.
Transition the stuff they're doing to somebody else.
Awesome.
So it's, that's the benefit of not having employees too. You don't have to go through like an evaluation and write-ups and documentation. You say, this is not, a good fit. You just, I just don't include them on future, but that's not always fun. Even though that's the situation. I know now though, what makes a good SEO person. We actually give people a brain test on, it's almost like a personality test, to become an SEO person. People who do well with SEO are very right brain kind of focused, kind of analytical, research, math. Like some of our best SEO people are like math teachers, either former or current math, instructors. Like one of our best SEO managers is a middle school math teacher. And she is amazing, because and people who are good with puzzles and Sudoku and people kind of,
so much sense.
That kind of stuff. People like puzzles and crossword puzzles, Sudoku, math, or kind of the science, biology kind of stuff, those people do really well with SEO, we found.
That makes total sense. So let's see, we have another question here from Miss Mary. She says, Brian, what is one area of growth or goal you would like to see your company reach in the next 3 to 5 years? Anything specific?
Well, I actually have a goal of reaching $500,000 in revenue this coming year, and then $1 million in revenue the year after that. So I'm almost there. That's my kind of revenue goal. I would say the other thing is really just continuing to grow the white label SEO services. We have a couple big clients that we're really doing really well with, and we're kind of using them as a case study. I work with a wealth management firm named Kendall Capital up in Rockville, and we've helped them increase their portfolio really in a really big way. They probably won't want me to say the numbers, but we're using that experience to kind of share those successes for future growth with other clients as well.
Awesome. I mean, kudos on those goals. For like, let's say, those smaller guys out there that are just getting started, like what, you told us about, you reached out, you were on Craigslist, you were looking for work from anywhere, and then you found BNI, that group.
Yep.
Some people may not have a BNI. What tips and tricks would you give them to, grow their businesses or scale their businesses realistically in their circumstances?
I would question if they don't have a BNI within their area, though, actually, because the BNI is like the largest professional networking organization in the world. If you're within 20 miles of a metropolitan area, actually 50 miles, if you're in 50 miles of a metropolitan area, you're going to have one of these groups in your neighborhood. But if you don't have that, like if you're like in I don't know, Jackson Hole in Wyoming, maybe they don't have one.
Don't be offended if you're in Wyoming.
I would say get connected with some great online networking groups like that are kind of very referral based or entrepreneurial, like iamabrand.co, for example, iamabrand.co. And really, you really have to like pick a couple of these kind of web-based networking things or local networking things, and then invest your time, energy, and talent into those things. Whatever you pay attention to grows. If you pay attention to the problems in your life, they're going to grow. If you pay attention to
nice, I love that.
The improvements in your life, that's going to increase. I've worked with with alcohol and drug addicted offenders my entire life, and it's a truism. Like what they focus on the problems in their life, that you get more problems. You focus on the improvements, you get more improvement. And so dedicate that time. I would say pick a networking group or a group. Even start one. If you don't have one, start your own meetup group for entrepreneurs, like you've done with Savvy Entrepreneurship. Develop a group and then commit time to it, and that thing will grow. It'll grow you. It'll grow your business. It'll grow people that come into it. If you have, an other focused, if you have a giver's gain kind of mentality, which you do, Michelle, I think the things you come into contact with, will grow, because people just see the value in the outward giving nature of yourself, of your time, of your talent, and that really draws people to you. That's what attracts people to you. That's what will make everyone grow.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. And I love that. Focus on the positive. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm definitely one of my girlfriends calls it, I have a bubblegum and butterflies personality. So I truly believe in focusing on the positive.
Mm-hmm.
Yay. So we definitely have the SEO audit. So everyone, I'm going to repeat that. If you have a website, because you have to have a website, not just a business. Right. If you have a website and you are looking to drive more traffic to that website, and you really want to, Google plays games and changes their algorithm all the time, and they're the big one, and everyone kind of follows suit. So if you really want to stay competitive in the online marketplace, reach out to Brian, and he's offering a complimentary SEO audit for the first 5 people who reach out to him. And he's not looking to, give you an audit and then make a sale. He's really doing complimentary to the group. So
I will ask. I will ask for a review though.
that's the least we can do for him, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Am I frozen on your screen?
Yeah, you are.
Oh man, and that
You are.
crazy like face too. Why am I frozen in of all faces that face? But that's all right.
So there's my Twitter handle. If you can see it, it's at Brian Loebig. I put it in the team chat. And so if
Awesome.
anybody wants to send me a tweet. So the first 5 people that tweet me that they want to audit will get the audit for free.
Awesome. Tweet Brian. So do you do
And
any other social media?
Michelle will be coming back for
I
It's
know.
Not a Solo broadcast
I know.
by Loebig Ink Web Consulting. But if it is, let me repeat. Visit me at Brian Loebig on Twitter and Facebook.com/Loebig Ink on Facebook. You're back.
Yeah, I think you could have handled it without me though.
No,
This has been so awesome.
So if you want,
I think, yes,
so if you want me to, if you want me to close the show, I can do a little, musical outro.
I think I had like one last question, but my last question for you. So, there's this big movement now to, with the service-based industry for people to move into like products and stuff like that, information services, Is that something that you're looking to get into, or do you just love your music and service-based business?
Like information products. I've actually, one of the things I've started kind of experimenting with and doing is some of this kind of like what we're doing today, this live broadcast stuff. I hosted up a live podcast, kind of a business podcast last year for maybe 30 episodes. I really liked that. And there's ways you can leverage that into, kind of paid products and exclusive videos you can offer. So I've been thinking about that idea. Live video is huge, obviously, as you know, in marketing. That's why we're here today doing some live presentations. So I have thought about that. I listen to a lot of podcasts myself. A lot of SEO podcasts like eWeb Results or SEO rock stars. John Dumas, do you listen to Entrepreneur on Fire?
I do. I listen to that one. I'm an Amy Porterfield fanatic.
Yep.
Stu McLaren, he just started one. Do you listen to Stu at all? Started Stu McLaren. He's really big into like membership sites and stuff like that. It's all about marketing. Of course, like Marie Forleo, a lot of the girls. Girl power, So.
I also pay a lot of attention to. I have some friends in DC that are connected to. What is that? That Periscope. Black. It's called. It's like the Black owners Periscope. What is that called? Black Bizscope.
Oh, I've never gotten into Periscope.
So there's some really cool things happening with Periscope. There's a group. One of my close friends. What's her name is Christine Saintville. She's a DC and she's like one of the co-hosts, co-founders, one of the 3 co-founders of Black Bizscope. And that's a great kind of entrepreneurial channel for people of color, and half my family's of color. So you feel like I'm
you're in the club
associated with that group by marriage and children.
Oh, beautiful.
And so there's some, great things happen. And even, the Periscope was bought by Twitter. So they're going to continue. Isn't that right? Periscope, Twitter?
I didn't know that. Probably. I didn't know that. Instagram, Facebook, right?
Instagram,
YouTube,
Facebook,
Google. Okay, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Brandon said his wife just left to go to a B School mini conference. It's Marie Forleo. Yeah, cool. Awesome. So do you have anything else besides our musical outro that you wanted to share with us, Brian?
I don't think so. I would say I would just encourage your community to stay actively engaged and involved and join the Savvy Entrepreneur Facebook group. And thank you very much for being. I didn't realize it was going to be the inaugural opening spotlight. So I'm very honored to be in your broadcast.
Thank you. Thank you for being so brave. And, definitely thank you again for, being patient with me and the group as we kind of kick this thing off today. We are so appreciative.
welcome.
And we will, and we look forward to having you back with us.
Great.
Awesome. All right, guys, do not leave yet. You know, Brian, when he first dropped in, he told us that he loves music, so he's going to play a little tune for us. You know, this savvy entrepreneur thing is more than just business. It's about building relationships. So,
And musical relationships.
and music is, you know, food for the soul. So please take us out, Brian.
And if you want to put the introduction to the open mic at Root Studio, I think it's just therootstudio.org. If you want to put that in the show notes, we're doing our first open mic kind of concert on January 12th. There it is.
Awesome.
Just a brief, just a taste.
The crowd goes wild. The crowd goes wild. Thank you again. Thank you so much, Brian.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And cool. Have a great weekend. Happy holidays. And we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.